Stuart Webber, how happy are you to have your man finally in the building?
Good, delighted, because it'll mean I don't have to talk to you guys as much, and I got someone else to talk to. But no, on a serious note, I'm glad. We always aim to do it by the end of May, 2 to 3 weeks after the season, and I'm glad that we've managed to work to that time frame. It now gives us a good period of time before pre-season starts to sort of get stuck into certain issues and get going. So it's good. I'm glad Daniel's here.
How long have you been aware of him, as a coach, the bits and pieces he's done? When did he sort of appear on your radar, so to speak?
I've been aware of him for a long time. Obviously, with him replacing David, you take interest. Oh, who's replaced you? So, been really aware of sort of his work, and then I got to know him a little bit over the course of the last sort of year, and then obviously once I come here, and the club were really open to the idea of doing a sort of signing like this in terms of the coach. I went and met him and sort of got into a lot more sort of greater detail into him as a coach and him as a person, but aware of his work for a fair time.
I know this is always a tricky question to ask at this point, but was he your key target? Was he the first person who appeared on your shortlist?
Yeah, there was others, and there was other very good people that that I spoke to and we spoke to, but he was always, to be honest, the sort of standout candidate, and the one that we felt if we could get him, we'd like to go with, and that's why we were patiently sort of waiting for his season to finish and for him to decide that it's also right for him, because as much as people talk about it being a big risk for us, it's a big risk for him. He could have stayed at one of the best clubs in the world where he was very well thought of and doing a great job. Could have left to other German clubs, it's well documented. They had a Bundesliga club in January. And he hasn't, and I think as much as people talk about the risk and chance we've taken, I think we've also got back that he's also taken a big one on us.
We were probably going to make comparisons to David Wagner anyway, but the fact that obviously Daniel's come from the same team at Dortmund as well means that they're kind of unavoidable. But it's more nuanced than that, isn't it? When you listen to Daniel talk about what he wants to do with the team, it's different. It
is different, yeah, and I think we need to stress that, because I understand the comparison. That's normal, of course it is. There's days I wish he'd maybe come from Schalke or somewhere, but even if he'd probably come from another German club, there would be that comparison, because we see David's German, he's German, they must be the same. But no, they're very different. They're very different in the method, the way of working, and I think, in fairness to Daniel, what must be a fantastic achievement for him is he took that team that David had at Dortmund and left and made him a lot better, which isn't easy, and I'll be honest with you, I spoke to David about Daniel previously, when we were working together at Huddersfield, and David was like really complimentary of Daniel in terms of the players that he'd worked with, saying about him and the staff that David had left behind, and he was very positive about his work, and like I say, it's a massive achievement to take on the great work which David did there, and to take it on is some achievement.
Are you expecting the Norwich City squad next season is going to have to be fitter than they were last season, given the way that Daniel will want them to play?
I think so, yeah. I think naturally the sort of style and the idea he wants would need players to be fitter. I think the good thing is getting them fit is actually a pretty easy part. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that'll happen, and the training regime that Daniel believes in and will put in will automatically make them players fitter anyway.
And interesting question here. I mean, does this alter now the job you've got in terms of rebuilding the squad? Does this change what you're going to need to do in terms of ins and outs and the shape of those players?
Not greatly, because I think we share a very similar idea, obviously, and when we've been in discussions and talking about the squad, we've got very similar sort of views on what it needs to look like at the end. The imbalance of the squad everyone can see anyway, whether it's myself and Daniel stood here or two other people, everyone would say, well, we've only got one left back and we've only got two centre backs, so it doesn't take, with the greatest respect and no disrespect to ourselves, a genius to sort of work that out. So I think the ideas will be very sort of similar in terms of personnel. We haven't got into the detail of individual players yet, and again, it's one thing saying if you want a player to leave, but someone's got to want to have them. Likewise, if you want to get a player in, they've got to want to come. So we've got a lot of work to do between us now, but I'm excited. I'm glad he's here now, so we can start that work. Sometimes you can do all the work in the background you want, but at the end of the day, Daniel has the final say on any player trading, and now he's here, we can start sort of pressing on with some of them a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like it's crucial that some of those changes come along quite early, because there is a lot of work to do, and the earlier in pre-season, the better chance Daniel has of being successful with them.
Absolutely, yeah. Ideally we'd have our squad together for the 26th of June. Realistically, we're not going to have it because of some of the challenges that we face, but what we do is we must have some parts of that jigsaw. So is the jigsaw going to be complete then? absolutely not. But the key is we start getting some of them pieces in sooner rather than later, so that we start back with the squad in the best shape it can be in the end of June.
Sort of a two-part question. I mean, are you close with any ins and outs? And I have to mention Marley Watkins, who's been heavily linked with joining the club on a free transfer.
Yeah, I mean, we've been linked with lots of players, and it's not right to talk about individual players. Certainly ones are at clubs. I know obviously Marley's announced that he's leaving Barnsley, and I think he's just got in the Wales squad today as well. Obviously being a Welshman, keeping a close eye on the Welsh squad. No, I think, listen, there's players that we have been talking to and spinning. That's our job. You know, I haven't had 3 weeks sort of sat on the beach waiting for Daniel to turn up. The key is now Daniel's here, we can start pushing the buttons on some of these guys maybe.
And just finally, it must be a relief now that you have got Daniel in the building, and as you said, we can stop talking about it, and it must mean that you can really take a step forward in terms of what you want to do at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big relief because it's a huge part of the jigsaw. It's a bigger part than me or Steve or any of the players. It's the biggest part, and he's here now, and we can sort of start working. And you know, it's important to get some time to have a little bit of a break as well, because it is going to be a long, hard season next year. The Championship, when you do come from somewhere where they have a winter break, and you know, that's one good thing with my experience of Huddersfield and going through with David is that, you know, some of the tripfalls which happen there I can see and sort of help Daniel. A lot to do with breaks and trying to get a rest when you can, because it's a long, hard slog when you're used to 14 less games than what we'll have and a winter break. So it's about him having a little bit of a rest now, but you know, crucial things we can push the button on quickly, and you know, the work's been prepared behind the scenes by a lot of good people that, you know, we're ready to go.
Stuart, as always, thanks for your time.
No worries, thank you.